precision. Style. Torque to thingy.
Well, hello again, guys. You know, judging from the comments from the previous video on this vehicle where we took the driveline apart, more than a few of you are a little anxious for me to get back in there and put it back together. So come along, let's get this thing going. Where do I begin? So to start with, we need to get our drive shaft and pinion and the bearings back into the torque tube, and I think I am going to do that first, just for the sake of preserving the seal on our oaky bushing. So I'm going to get some oil, and we are going to lubricate those bearings and stick her back in there. Now remember, guys, or unless you're new here, the brakes, we didn't really go through them because they looked like they'd been worked on in, you know, a decade or less. So that'll be fine, and we'll double check things as we go along. I am going to replace our steel lines running along the top of the back axle here, just to get them out of the way of the rear cover and make a little cleaner job of it. That'll be fine. They would have, well, if anything, I'm nervous about this short one on the right side. I think they would both work. I'd just like to clean it up a little bit. Otherwise, I'm going to scoot this out of the way for now. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention, the bushings between the rear axle and the spring assembly are good as well, so I did not replace those. Alright, get our jousting stick here. And just to make sure we have lubrication, I'm going to pre-oil these things, 80-90. And then I'm going to oil the outsides of them too. And then remember, up at the front end we have an original seal and bronze bushing up there, and so I'm just going to throw some oil on the small end, and in we go. Okay, we are centered, so it's just hitting that inner seal. Should have brought a bigger dead blow. One thing you have got to be sure of when you're sliding all this in together is that your lock ring that your 3 bolts on the outside run up against, that's this right here, you can see has been rubbed by the bolts, that follows along with that front bearing. If it lags behind, it's going to be up against this bearing or lost in space between the two, and it'll never do its job. If you don't get that, you must see that come past this hole. So as I'm going in with my drive shaft, I'm going to be sure that is following along with it. Probably one of the best methods is to put the thing on blocks or something that allows the drive shaft to slip down. Like so. and your lock ring should fall right into place because it is somewhat loose in there. Now you can see just the edge of the lock ring towards the front of the hole. That's exactly what we need. I have our 3 retainer bolts snugged down. Just go around to all 3, a little bit at a time. Snug them down. You're gonna move both bearings at the same time. You'll feel the pinion get sucked in even further when you're doing that, if you pay attention. So just go around and snug them down evenly, nice and tight, and then go back and hit the lock nuts. And by the way, the book says you can also use a big punch in the center of the pinion here to drive this in. Obviously I was using a dead blow and a block of wood and a big hammer. Up to your discretion. Probably just smacking the pinion gear with a big hammer isn't a good idea though. When teeth start flying off, whether from you or from the pinion, it's a bad day, right? So, all right, we are locked and loaded. Now we're going to turn our attention to the oaky bushing. If any of you who are watching, I know some of you were around when I did that 48 Stylemaster in my home shop. You may recall that we had to turn down the oaky bushing because on both ends of it, it was too large. Well, this one is exactly the same. I don't know what the issue is with the manufacturer or these 48 passengers that I'm dealing with, but either way, if you want to, I'll put the measurements that I turned this down to here on the screen. Or you can go back to my previous video when I was working on the other one and check that out. So I'm going to put a little oil on our seal and in our bushings. You can only, it's got some chips in it yet. I should have cleaned that out better. So let me do that real quick. So at this point there is nothing stopping a guy from installing this backwards. So just know that small end with the seal, the small bushing with the seal goes in, large bushing, no seal, goes towards the end because that accepts your U-joint piece. Feeling like we got a real good fit here. Using my brass mallet on the steel edge, so we shouldn't mess anything up. Okay. Whoa, whoa. So I'm going to start making my adjustments for the ring gear, and it's important to know that the hole for the lock for my side nut lines up like this. You'll have your space in between two holes is actually your center mark. Alright, I've got my spanner, and we want right side all the way loose, which it is. Left hand side, we're going to start running in until basically we run out of backlash between the ring and pinion, which we have a ways to go here. Speed the process up here a little bit. The bolts for my caps are just barely snug. Okay, that got rid of everything, so let me back it off a little bit. Okay, there's some backlash. And by backlash, just looseness between the gears. And I've got it lined up where our lock will work. Okay, I'm going to back it off one notch. Okay, now I'm going to tighten the right hand one, and according to the manual you do it snugly and it'll come to a definite stop, as they say. Okay. Now they want you to go 1 or 2 notches more. It is already seems very tight to me. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to get dial indicator set up. Yeah, we might be pretty good. So Chevy Engineering wanted your backlash at between 5 and 7 thousandths, and we are right in there. So I think I'm going to lock it down. I'm going to lock our side nuts down with these. Then I will lock down our cap bolts, and then we will recheck it. And if that changes anything, if it's too loose, you need to loosen your right hand one and go one notch, and tighten your left hand one notch, and that'll move the ring gear into the pinion. If it's too tight, you do just the opposite. One notch loose, one notch tight on the right, and move it away from the pinion. Alright, I'm going to hit these with 50 foot-pounds and recheck it, and then we'll call it a day. And I'm getting a good 5, so we're good to go. And I'll just tell you this, on this particular one, when I still just had these caps just snug, I got it to where I had 10 thousandths lash, and then tightened it down, and by the time we're tight, we've got 5, so we're good to go. Well, good morning. We have a brand new day, and we have some work to do. Now, I certainly think by the end of the day, if not the end of the morning, I should have this back together. And that's where this video is going to end. This is just reassembly of the Driveline. I have a fuel tank to put in the back, and I want to keep this out of the way until that's done. And then we can work on those things together as we proceed. We also have rear shock absorbers that we need to look into that are still on the car at the moment. So we have a lot to do, but what I'm trying to say is this video, reassembly, good to go. Let's get into it. Okay, so I talked a little bit about checking the pattern out with paint, and we're going to go ahead and do that, even though we went through the procedure and we set the backlash according to the book. I suppose it is possible our pinion depth is wrong anyway, and the book really doesn't cover that, but what we have here is gear marking compound. Isn't that cool? I don't even remember where I found this. I think one of my old jobs, either at a dealership or shop or something. So I'm going to paint the drive side and the coast side. Don't quote me on this, but I'm thinking this paint is simply is similar to like a white lithium. It's just dyed, you know. So something along those lines. If you want to do this, but you don't want to go out and buy paint, which it's easily obtainable. You can easily find it online, but you know, just for double checking, if you go through something like this, anything is probably good enough. Alright. Let's do that, and then I'm going to go to the other end and spin it, and we'll see what happens. So in looking at your pattern on a gear set, you have a drive side, a coast side, a heel, and a toe. The drive side is the convex side, which is what we're looking at. And that's a little bright for you, I think. Let's see if I can get it to where you can see what's going on here. There we go, maybe. And it's where it's rubbing the paint off. Basically on both sides you want your wear mark centered. I think on the drive side it can be a little towards the toe, and that's okay. And that's exactly what you got here. If you can see, the dark spot in the center is more towards the toe of the gear than the heel, and it's pretty well centered. On the coast side, the convex side, you got a nice wide pattern. It is centered again, and you want a little bit, sorry, holding the camera doesn't help much. You want it centered along the length of the tooth. You want a little bit of paint between the edge of the tooth and your pattern, basically so that you know the pinion tooth is not coming all the way up to the edge or off of your ring tooth. And we certainly have paint on the edge, so I think we are looking really good. Just taking a moment really quick with some acetone and a scuff pad and just cleaning out the bores for the bearings and seals. Did the same on the axle shafts. Man, what a testament to those original old bearings. Presumably original, because they were the factory, the Hyatt bearings, unless they were replaced with new old stock sometime down in its life at a dealership or whatever. But no matter how you look at it, considering the condition of the oil that we dropped out of here, simply amazing. I mean, these aren't even, there is nothing concerning on this shaft at all. No groove, no seal groove, no nothing. So I think, most likely those bearings could have even kept running, and I'll probably save them, but or send them along with the car in case he ever needs them. But anyway, now at the factory the seals were staked in, and that you find that in your manual as well. I only see one stake mark right there, that vertical notch where they smacked it with a chisel. So I'm going to take my knotted Dremel and just make sure there's no burr there. That's going to fight us. And that should be good enough. So having pulled on everything with a slide hammer and a bearing puller to get it out, we've probably misshapen this bearing retainer, so just take a moment at the anvil or the vise or the floor or whatever you want to use, and make sure that is nice and flat. Doesn't even want to go in there. Let me try the other one, I guess. Well, that went a lot easier. And again, as I said last time, I believe all the parts have either come from Chevs of the 40s or the filling station. You can find them other places. Whatever you want to do. Been trying to locate a large socket or a piece of pipe or something that would fit that, but have not been successful so far. I'm gonna go look again. The guy is at such a disadvantage working out of a shop that's not his own, you know. But I am so grateful for the opportunity. I'll just take it easy on this thing. We'll stake this bad boy in, and then I'll go do the other side. Okay, our carrier gasket, this is just a Felpro RDS 5008. We're just going to slop some of the Permatex on it. Just want a little peace of mind, you know? Now for our side gears, get those going. Come on. You gotta go in there. Such close tolerances, I tell you. Your long axle shafts are two different lengths. Your long one is the right hand one. My C-clip in there. Push it back in the cavity. Here we go. Alright, I want to get this to where I can install my bolt for our pin. That'll work. Somewhere around in there. Yeah, let's do it like this. I think I'm a tooth off on that side. This is lined up. That is most definitely not lined up. So, let's do it this way. Something like that. Roll them in. Lined up there. It looks like we're lined up better now. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Pin in. And our screw with lock washer. I need to get a better screwdriver, but this will work for starting it. Oh, I've got one right here. To learn how to use it is the next challenge, but what? Hey, that doesn't fit in the slot. Anyway, you numbskull, did anyone catch me? Did anyone catch what I did? Or didn't do? We got our block. Okay, I don't even know if I have a feeler gauge here at the moment. If you want to, you can sneak one in, and you shouldn't have a gap more than 14 thousandths between the axle and the center block there. So you can certainly check that out. I will have to look for a gauge, and I will put a wrench on this and tighten that up a little bit extra tight. But there, now it's put together. So if you too desire to replace these bushings but not the center bushings, just like I have been doing on this project, you're going to have to come up with a way, obviously, to press these new ones in. If you remove it completely from the rear axle housing, then a big vise or press becomes an obvious solution. But since I'm not doing that, and I don't want to even consider trying to wrestle this thing into place, doing that kind of thing, I brought over my ball joint tool, and it's just the ticket for this kind of operation. You could get by with one of those big welding C-clamps. Maybe even if you have a pretty robust regular C-clamp, you might get it to work. Now I'm just going to get this started with a small centerpiece here, just because when it's loose like this, there's just so much to hang on to and get going. So I will put a cup in there in just a second, but I want to get that bushing started, just so it'll stay put. Hello. Try and redirect it a little. Okay. Alright, I've left about an 1/8 inch of outer metal sleeve, the full metal jacket, and we should see about the same on the inside here. And we do. So I got my feeler gauge, and I cannot even get 4/1000ths in between the spacer and the axle shafts. And I looked again in the book, and they say a free fit to 14/1000ths, which means it goes in, but no gap. You know, no clearance, up and then up to 14/1000ths. So we certainly have that. So that is fine. I'm going to put my cover on, and this is a Best Gasket 10011E. Best Gasket will be used pretty much for the rest of this project, actually. They make a good engine kit for the 235s, 216s, as well as the transmission and the torque tube ball up on the front end. All of that, I believe, will be Best Gasket. This is a nice thick gasket, so I think I'm going to run without Permatex on it. Three and a half pints of gear oil in it, so that should be good to go. Little Teflon on the threads here, and we really shouldn't make a mess trying to get this back under the car and install it because of our seal on the oaky bushing. I think we are good to go here. Got one more little job up front, and then I can also go ahead and come back and paint our fasteners. So we'll do that in a bit. Front bushings are in. I'm waiting on paint on the rear shackles. I'll show you those in a minute. I'm thinking where this owner lives, he's really going to want parking brake. The right side one was free. I could get movement out of it. This one was stuck tight, so I ended up taking these brakes apart so I could pry on the end of the cable in there and just hosing it down with PB Blaster, and now we're getting some action out of it. So I'm also taking apart the pivot end of that and cleaning all this up, so I'm just going to keep working here, and then once Rust-Oleum is dry in about 2 weeks, we will finish this project up. Aren't these cool? Genuine Kent products. If it's Kent, it's good. Oh yeah. Front or rear rubber spring shackle unit, Chevrolet, 40 to 49. Got these off of eBay, I suppose. I don't even remember anymore. Took them apart, painted the bare steel. Who knows how old they are. One would presume 50s, you know, if it's going to 49. But anyway, I just love this kind of thing. Rubber is still pliable, not cracked. So let's put them on. We'll just temporarily put this together, and then of course once we put the Driveline in the car, this will get installed in the hangers on the frame. So there we go. Well, there we go, guys. We have our completed assembly, at least as far as where we are going to go in this video, and I will say more about that at the end. But we are basically done. We've got bushings, we've got bushings, we've got shackles, we've got brake lines, soft line, oaky bushing. We checked out the bearings in there on the Pitman shaft. We're going to leave them. New axle and carrier bearings. I've got my parking brake cables are working, and they're all cleaned up. This one was actually pretty stubborn. I had to take things apart in the drum there and get it loosened up, but we got it working as well. What else? Vent breather. That's the same thing, isn't it? I'm going to get a new one. I can't get that one unplugged, and it's not worth trying to take apart and fiddle with it. We don't have any leaks on the floor yet, so our gaskets are sealed up good. So I think we can call this piece of the puzzle finished. This looks comfortable. Well, guys, there you go. I hope that was helpful to a lot of you. I know a lot of you are wanting to see this. Kind of impatient, you know, just give a guy a chance. No, that's okay. Really enjoyed it going through this, and I look forward to the day when we can put it back in the car, and hopefully that'll come very soon. One main component that I did not install was the ball for around the U-joint. The reason for that is we need to go through the transmission. Then I will put this together on the back of the transmission and get our shim spacing right. Then take it all apart again, and then we can install this on here and put both together. So, no point in me doing that right now. If you need that information now, go to my channel, go to my 48 Chevy playlist, and you will find 2 videos on adjusting the torque tube ball. I don't really remember why there are 2 at the moment, but it must have been all necessary information. So you can go ahead and look for that. Otherwise, we are done. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me and coming along for the ride. God bless you. We'll see you on the next one. Oh, it's getting hot in here.